How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm also doing great. Thanks for asking. Just let me share my screen quickly. 1 second. Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see this.
Okay, great. Let's get started then. So, you know the TOEFL test, right? So, what is the full form of TOEFL?
I forgot.
Okay, no problem. It's the test of English as a foreign language. That's the full form of the word TOEFL. And then you have IBT. IBT is nothing but internet based test. Okay, 1 second. Yeah. Now, first thing, you already know everything about me, but I'll just give a brief introduction quickly. As you know, I am Susmita Suresh Yadav. I am the founder of TSC, that is the Susmita's classes. We have our institute located in Hadapsar in Pune, and I am also a soft skills trainer, a corporate trainer, and a posh trainer. Okay, I have overall 9+ years of work experience now. I would say our training experience is around 6 years. I would say overall I have 9+ years of work experience. I'm also a certified TOEFL trainer. I'm also a certified IELTS trainer, and I also train for other English examinations which are there. I am a global speaking examiner for examinations conducted by Cambridge. So you might know that whenever you give this English proficiency tests, they have four sections, correct? Reading, writing, speaking, and listening. So all the other modules can be done on paper, but for speaking, you need a live examiner, right? For most of the Cambridge examinations, I would say. So that's where my part comes in. I have done my MBA in IT. I have done my master's in TESOL, that is Masters in Teaching English to the Speakers of the Language. Along with that, I haven't added it over here, but I have also done my MA in English. Okay, and currently I'm preparing for PhD, of course. That's a little bit about me. Of course, you can go through my LinkedIn profile or Instagram profile, you will get all the other details over there. Okay, any questions as of now?
No.
Okay, great. Now, as I told you, the full form of TOEFL is Test of English as a Foreign Language. That's what we are going to look at because we are targeting July end to give the test, correct? To go abroad. Now, TOEFL IBT test is nothing but your English language skills. So basically, why do you need to portray your English language skills? We know that your English is good, okay? Of course, the others also know that your English is good. But what happens is in India, when we go to school or college, we have people, we have teachers who know our language, correct? So even if we don't understand something, even if the English is the medium of language which is being used, and we don't know something, we can go to our teachers and ask them to help us out in our regional language usually, correct? But when you go to a foreign university, it's not the same, correct? Teachers are from that area, sometimes even they are from other countries, and the only medium of language that you have that is common between both of you would be English, correct? And the way they teach is a bit higher. That is the reason they need you to know that your English is good for two reasons. First thing, that you will be able to survive in the country, correct? So even for visa, your test score becomes important, okay? And then to understand what is happening in the academic purpose, you are able to communicate with your peers, you are able to communicate with the teachers, you are able to understand what the teachers are saying. At the same time, you are able to write down the answers, the research papers and assignments and everything. That is the reason they want you to give the English proficiency test. Okay, that is the reason they ask you for the test score, and that's why they have certain requirements also. Most of the universities, some universities skip it if you are from English medium background in your school, and that's a plus point, I would say. But most of the universities still ask you to give the TOEFL test. Okay, now TOEFL test is nothing but it is like kind of a stimulation of what is going to be simulation of what is going to be when you are in the university over there. Okay, so when you are in the university, you will be listening to your professor in the lecture, correct? You will be going through your text material over there, and you will be writing down your answers based on that, correct? So it gives you the same simulation over here. Along with that, you will be discussing with your peers. You will be reaching out to your service people over there. For example, you're staying in a hostel, you will reach out to the person who is working over there, the residence officer. Then you would reach out to a librarian, you would reach out to transportation office. Correct? So these kind of conversations will be there. So these conversations or listening part that you will go through will be like just your real life setting. Okay, reading passages also are similar to what you read in textbooks. Okay, so nothing is out of the question if you're preparing for academic purpose. Okay, that's what I would say. Now your test, it consists of four sections or four skills, we can say, that is reading, listening, speaking and writing. Okay, now you already might know that your test is of 2 hours. It is actually less than 2 hours, it's 1 hour 58 minutes, and there are no breaks in between. Okay, there are few ways of giving the test. You can give the test at the test center, you can give it at home, or you can give it on paper also. Paper they have discontinued in last few years, I would say. So you have only two options currently, that is the test center and at home. I already told you on call that at home edition is not accepted by all the universities. Okay,
True.
and I told you all the problems also that we might face when you give the home edition. So test center is the best option to give, so that you save your money also, and that you just go there, give the test, come back home, is the best thing that you can do. Okay, system and everything is provided over there. Now another thing that you need to know, TOEFL test is an integrated test. What do we mean by integrated test? Usually even when we were in school, you might remember, whenever we had to write an essay, we were just given a topic, and based on that topic we have to brainstorm, we have to come up with the points, and then we have to write down. Correct?
Right.
Same way in some other English proficiency tests, just the points are given to you for speaking and writing. Now see, speaking and writing are productive skills. Productive skills matlab kya? That you have to produce the language on your own. Others are receptive skills, where you just reading and listening is receptive skills, where you just read or listen to something and you give your answers based on that. Correct? But where you showcase your skills, English language skills mainly, are in speaking and writing. Correct? So some of the other tests, they ask you, like just like at school time, they give you a topic, they ask you to brainstorm, they ask you to come up with points, and along with that showcase your English proficiency skills. Okay, but over here it's not the same. Okay, TOEFL gives you all the matter, you just need to showcase your English language skills. Now what do we mean by integrated? Integrated matlab, when you are doing your speaking skill, you will be reading as well as listening, and then you will be speaking based on that. Okay, so you don't have to come up with points of what to talk, you already have the points, you just need to paraphrase and summarize in your own words. Okay, same goes for writing, this is mainly for writing and speaking. Okay, same goes for writing. In writing also, everything is given to you, you have to read a passage, you have to listen to the professor, the same way we do it in the university. Okay, that we go through our text, we listen to the professor, and based on that we write in our test paper. Correct? Same way you have to write over here. That's where your integrated skills mainly come into the picture. Now how is it beneficial? That you, as I told you, you don't have to come up with points, you just need to paraphrase, rephrase and put it in your own words. Everything, the matter that you need to put in that essay is given to you. Okay, what you need to speak about, it's given to you, except one task, okay, which we'll talk about in speaking mainly.
Okay.
Clear?
Okay.
Understood till now? What do we mean by
Yeah.
integrated tasks?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Okay, but one thing that you need to remember, when you give this integrated task, जो skill आप दे रहे हो उसी में आपका score count होगा. Okay, for example,
Okay.
you are
Yeah.
giving speaking, so speaking में ही
Hmm.
आपका score count होगा. Your listening and reading skills score won't be affected over there. Okay, some of the tests, they have that function that even if you're giving listening, your reading and sorry, even if you're giving speaking, your reading and listening scores also get हैम्पर्ड ओवर देयर, ओके। ऐसा यहाँ पर नहीं है, आप स्पीकिंग दे रहे हो तो आपका स्पीकिंग का ही स्कोर वहाँ पर काउंट होगा, लिसनिंग का स्कोर अफेक्ट नहीं करेगा। लिसनिंग का स्कोर लिसनिंग के सेक्शन पे ही डिपेंड करेगा, okay. Same goes for writing. Even if you're doing reading and listening over there, only writing का score आपका affect होगा, okay, in writing section. So that's something that you need to understand, because some other tests they take this into picture. That's why I need to make this clear, okay. Next thing, I already told you that integrated questions क्या होते हैं. We read, listen and then speak in response to the question which is given or prompt which is given to us, or we might just sometimes listen to something and speak in response to the prompt again. And in the writing section also, you will read, listen and then write in response to that question, okay. Clear? Now mainly if I talk about your reading section, has two passages, okay. So test goes in the same format. First you will get reading on your screen when you go to the test center. Reading pehle hoga, then you will have your listening, then you have your speaking, then you have your writing, okay. So we follow the same flow, remember that, yeah. Now first you will start with two passages, that is reading, okay. You have two passages and you have 10 questions each passage. That means overall you get 20 questions, ओके. क्वेश्चन टाइप्स क्या होते हैं वो हम वन बाय वन गो थ्रू करेंगे, डोंट वरी अबाउट दैट, ओके. एंड हाउ टू टैकल दोज क्वेश्चंस, व्हाट आर द टिप्स एंड ट्रिक्स फॉर दैट आल्सो वी विल गो थ्रू वन बाय वन, ओके. ओवरऑल एज आई टोल्ड यू, you get two passages are around 700 words long, I would say, okay. But the plus point over here is the questions are given to you according to the paragraph number, okay.
Okay.
So when you are looking at the questions, you don't have to go through the whole paragraph again, sorry, whole passage again, okay. Say you are doing question number 5, so they will be giving you that according to paragraph number 4. So you know, you just have to look at the paragraph number 4. You don't have to look at say paragraph 2 or paragraph 5, okay. So that
Yeah.
saves your time in the test center, okay. Now most of the questions, when they are asking you to paraphrase, reference based question, when they're asking you to paraphrase something, again they highlight the words or the sentences that they want you to understand and paraphrase over there, okay. So again you don't need to keep searching it over there, it's highlighted in the text, okay.
Yeah.
Even when you have vocabulary questions, your vocabulary word which is being assessed over there will be highlighted over there. So you save the time of scanning and looking for things and just getting lost in the passage, okay. So that's again a plus point according to me, at least. Another thing, I told you that paragraph wise you are asked questions. When you are in the test center, you can go through, like when you are in the same passage, you can do back and forth in the questions also. Say you want to start with question number 10 first, you can do that and then come back to question number 1. Okay, or
Okay.
question number 2, you feel that it's taking a lot of time, you can just finish other questions and then come back to question number 2. But only when you are at that passage. Once you go to the next passage, you cannot come back to the first passage. Okay, remember that. Of course we'll discuss this when you go to the test center also, day before the test center, but that's something that you have to remember. Now next, after this, when you finish your two passages with 10 questions each, you move to the listening section, okay. In listening section you have around 28 questions, okay. And you get 3 lectures, proper lectures, and 2 conversations, okay. Lectures will be similar to what we go through in our India, I would say, that the professor would be just speaking, okay. And you have to listen to the points, the examples, the definitions that the professors use, and you have to make your notes. Now when you come to the listening section, you listen to the audio first, you take the notes first, and then the questions appear on your screen,
Okay.
okay. You don't attempt the questions along with the listening, like साथ में नहीं होता, simultaneously नहीं होता, ठीक है. First you listen to the lecture, you make notes on based on that, and then you the questions pop up on your screen, and then you start answering them according to your notes. But I usually ask the students to pay attention even if you're not making notes, or even if you're making notes, because what if you have not noted something and then that comes up as a question? You should
Yes.
not miss that. And the audios are not very lengthy, they are hardly 3-4 minutes long. Okay, so it's not very hard to remember, and hardly 6 questions or 5 questions would be asked on those audios, correct? So you should be able to answer them even if you have not made notes, or even if you have made notes but you have not covered that specific point that they are asking. But of course, when you practice the passages that we would be practicing in the class, and the passages that you would be practicing in your mock test also, it usually gives you an idea of what type of question will come up, what kind of information they will ask you. Now understand this: in these listening passages, they won't ask you very specific questions. They won't ask you when did the world war happen. Okay, they will ask you why did the world war happen.
Okay.
Okay, so you don't have very detailed specific questions, you have broader questions. Okay, so that's how you make notes also when you're making notes. And again, that's something that you will need to get used to, because nowadays we have lost that thing that हम class सुनते सुनते या फिर while we are attending lecture कि हम notes बनाए. So that's a habit that you will need to develop. This is something that most of the students face an issue with. Another issue is that, see, you are listening to the audio and you're making notes, but when you're writing something, you don't listen. That part is also there. Okay, so you should be able to do it simultaneously. And the way I said, even if you have not written something, you should be able to remember. So active listening is a very big part in this. Okay, because your listening skills are important in listening, in speaking, and in writing as well. So that is the reason I'm highlighting this point. And note taking becomes very, very important. Okay, if you're not used to making notes, you don't know what points to start with, or if you feel that you get distracted, usually I ask my students, go to any YouTube channel which provide you lectures, and just listen to that lecture, which is say 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes long. Crash Course is a very good channel. Okay, they have uh, videos based on, like, lectures, kind of video tutorials based on lot of topics. Listen to any one of them. Make sure you simultaneously make notes also. First you can go according to your subject specific. Okay, you can just explore your own area, your own expertise wala area, and then you can explore other areas. Okay, so first you come across the terms which you are familiar with, and then you also get used to the terms which you are not familiar with. Okay, because that becomes very important, that when you're not familiar with something, for example, say I start talking about literature, you might not know anything about literature right now, you might not know the books that I'm talking about, or the writers that I'm talking about, and you come across such a passage, you should be able to tackle it. Nothing else. Okay, same goes for reading as well as listening over here. The passages in listening, they will be usually, say, from arts background, they will be from science background, they will be from natural sciences, they can be from your like astrophysics kind of background. So they are not very topic specific, I would say. They don't go in depth, but you will be asked the questions based on, this goes for reading as well as listening and other skills also. Okay, you will be asked the questions based on whatever is given over there. Okay, you won't be asked questions of anything which is not given over there. You don't need to use your general knowledge over there, I would say. Okay, so even if you don't know, say you're reading about Shakespeare, you don't know anything about Shakespeare, you are being asked everything which is given in the passage itself. उसके बाहर से कुछ नहीं आएगा. Okay, but yeah, I usually suggest my student that you should know about it a little bit. एटलीस्ट आपको पता होना चाहिए कि शेक्सपियर कौन से फील्ड में आता है करके, राइट? इट्स जस्ट जनरल नॉलेज, आई वुड से. आई वुडंट से कि इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर योर टोफल टेस्ट, बट अदरवाइज यू शुड नो. Okay, in life it's something like important, you need to know about these topics. Well, of course, when I share a TOEFL guide with you today, the topics that your questions come from are given over there. Okay, and as we keep practicing also, you come up across various topics, various terminologies, so you will get to know it a little bit. Okay, that's something that I would say. And then those are your lectures. Sometimes lectures could be also two-way lectures. Okay, what do we mean by two-way lectures? That the students might be talking in between. Okay, a student might come up with a question and he would ask a professor. Now this is where we need to be really careful with the distractors, and we need to be really careful with the conversation that's happening, like the lecture type of conversation that's happening. Because what happens is, as a distraction, purposely, that you don't get the right answer over here, what they do is the student will go ahead and ask the question and say whatever he or she knows, and that might not be the right thing. Okay,
Okay.
but what we do while listening, once we get the answer, we just close our brain. Correct. For example, if I ask you what, if student himself asks that what year Shakespeare was born, example, okay, what year Shakespeare was born, and she goes ahead and says that okay, he was born in 1864. I think he was born around 1864, 1865. Now what we do is we note that as an answer. ओके, क्वेश्चन जब
Right.
आएगा तब ये आंसर लिखेंगे, बट शी माइट नॉट बी राइट ओवर देयर, so the professor will go
Correct.
ahead and correct her. He might say, okay, example, okay, I don't know his exact year, he might just go ahead and say he was born in 1870. So that's where we have to make sure that we correct those notes also, and not close our attention just after listening to the answer that she has given. Okay, that becomes very important because this usually comes up as a distraction. Okay, they purposely distract you with wrong answers, so when it comes, and there will be an option again, okay, which says 1864, so you will just go ahead and mark 1864, and then the answer becomes wrong over there. Okay, that's why we have to be careful. Your reading passages as well as your listening passages are MCQs. You will get four options. In some questions you might get five or six options. We'll go through that question types also, then you will come to know. So it's an MCQ. You just have to select your answer over there. Okay, only be careful about that, sometimes you have to select two, not only one. The way we had it in diagnostic test also, कहीं कहीं पे
Correct.
दो
Yeah.
आंसर्स सिलेक्ट करने थे आपको, इट वाज मेंशनड ओवर देयर. करेक्ट, सो इट्स सिमिलर टू दैट, आई वुड से. ठीक है, देन कम्स द कॉन्वर्जेशंस. नाउ कॉन्वर्जेशंस आर अगेन your conversations with service people on the campus. So as I said, you might just go out, like the student might just go out to a librarian and ask about how to take the membership, how many books can I borrow, how much time can I keep that book, one particular book. So all these kind of questions you might just go and ask, and the person over there would just respond to it. Okay, usually that's something that I have observed is not given on paper in the TOEFL guide as such. Usually whenever these kind of conversations are there, एक male होता है, एक female होता है, so it helps you to distinguish among the people in the conversation. Okay, but sometimes if there are three people involved, be clear with who is A, who is B, and who is C. Okay, that's something that you will have to be careful about, and you will have to pay attention. Don't get confused with the conversation over there. But usually दो people का conversation ही रहता है. You don't have conversation with more than that. हाँ, कभी कभी लेक्चर में वैसा हो सकता है. When the professor has just opened up for questions, there might be two or three students who are speaking, so be careful over there. Okay, but in conversations you have only two people conversations most of the time. Yeah, where there would be usually a male and a female, so it helps you to distinguish between the people over there. Okay, you will get 5 questions asked for conversations and 6 questions for lectures. Then you move to speaking. Now speaking, you have 4 tasks. Okay, overall your speaking is assessed in 3 minutes 45 seconds. Okay, basically you have to speak only for 3 minutes 45 seconds. Okay, but overall you get time of 16 minutes. Why? Because you need to listen to the audios also, you have to read the questions also, and based on that you have to answer, so you get overall 16 minutes over here. Okay, now first task is an independent task. What do we mean by independent task? That you do not get any reading material over here, you do not get, like, it's not an integrated task basically. You do not get any reading material, you do not get any listening material, no audio. You just have to read the prompt, and based on that, you have to give your response. Okay, for your first question, you have to speak only for 45 seconds, and the question would be your real life setting question again. For example, they might just ask you, what would you prefer, studying in a cafe, in a library, or at home? Okay, now when you get such choice based questions, you pick up any one choice. ओके, यूजुअली हम इंडिया में कैसे करते हैं कि तीन चार चॉइस दिए तो हम तीन चार साढ़े चॉइस के बारे में बात करेंगे. दैट्स नॉट नेसेसरी ओवर योर. Understand this, they are assessing your language skills, they are not assessing what kind of answer you are giving. Okay, they are focusing more on your fluency, your accent, your grammar, and your voice modulation along with that. Okay, your proper pauses and the rhythm in the voice, we'll look at that, those points also, once we discuss the questions. Okay, that's how your question one would be. Say मैंने जो अभी क्वेश्चन बताया, what would you prefer, like what would you prefer to study in a cafe, a library, or at home? So you say you prefer studying in a cafe, so you can just take that as an answer, and you can give your examples for this answer and just conclude the answer. Only thing that you need to follow is proper introduction, your proper body with examples, and then your conclusion also. अगर वन like speaking में usually one liner का ही conclusion रहता है, hence I prefer studying in a cafe. That is more than enough, but you have to conclude that helps you in the topic development part. Okay, and of course the way your question would be given, same way your answer will also start. For example, what do you prefer, then you will say I prefer studying in a cafe. Okay, what would you like to do, तो what I would like to, ऐसे करके तुम्हारा आंसर है. What do you think, I think. Okay,
yeah.
so the way your questions is framed, your answer would start. Now again, how to start your answer, how your examples could be included, what are the wordings that you could use for the examples, how can you conclude your answer, everything I will be sharing. Okay, I will be giving you basic phrases which you can use in your test. Okay, but understand this, हमें वो phrases रट्टा मार के नहीं जाना है, हमें अपने हिसाब से उसको modify करना है. Okay, why? Because templates don't work in these tests. Okay, these are called templates sometimes. So templates don't work in these tests because same for speaking and writing. Okay, students what they do is usually ask me for templates कि मैम template दे दो, हम वही छाप के आएंगे exam में. That does not work because see, I am training Aarti, I am training Pranjali, I am training Hamza, I am training many students, correct? अगर मैं सबको वही template दूँ, your test is checked by humans plus AI. Okay, and AI can assess all the answers. तो वो आरती का आंसर भी देखेगा, हमजा का आंसर भी देखेगा, और अंजलि का आंसर भी देखेगा, एंड देन इट विल से इन तीनों का आंसर सेम लग रहा है. Okay, then where are the language skills? And of course these templates are put up on internet somewhere, so your AI also has the access. Usually these test proficiency AIs, they usually have access to the net also, so they can go and cross check कि कहाँ पर कौन से templates exist कर रहे हैं and कहाँ से आपने copy किया है. So instead of getting whatever score you were supposed to get, you get 0 instead. And that's why many students who don't know, who just go to the internet and follow the templates, they just fail even if their English is good. Okay, so हमें template follow नहीं करना है, हमें अपने हिसाब से उसको modify करना है. Okay, according to the question. The phrases just help you to understand how your answer should be framed to get a better score. Okay, मैं ऐसे ही आपको बता दूँ कि ऐसे आंसर स्टार्ट करना है, then you will be like कौन से वर्ड में यूज़ कर सकती हूँ. But when I tell you that okay, you can start with the word initially, then you could use the word therefore, however, ये सारे हमारे transition words होते हैं. Then you know okay, I can use these in my, and these help you to score better also. Okay, that's why they become important. That's something that you need to understand. Then once you're done with your independent task, you move to the second task. Now second speaking task is a university notification and a discussion of students based on that university notification. Okay, a university notification will be put up. Say the university has decided to increase the fees this year, this academic year. Okay, you
Okay.
will read that passage. Now usually take notes from that passage, because वो passage वापस screen पे नहीं आता है. Okay, it's a very short passage. You get 45 seconds to read that passage. In speaking, you also get some preparation time. Okay, first ask me, I forgot to tell you. You get some preparation time also. Say 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. It will totally depend on the question type. Okay, you will get
Okay.
the exact format in your TOEFL guide. And again, when we look at each question type, also we'll look at it again. Uh, yeah, once you move to your second task, you will read a university notification, take notes from that notification so that you can include that in your answer, because usually it does not come up on your screen again. Okay, then once your time is up for reading, your listening audio will come up. Okay, usually in this audio you have two students speaking on the university notification that you just read. Okay, one student will have a very strong opinion about that notification. Okay,
Okay.
that means the student might just go ahead and say, why are they increasing the fees again? Just last year they had increased. Somehow I have managed to gather the fees, and by doing part-time jobs, how will I pay the extra fees now? And they don't have enough infrastructure already. The lab does not have the equipment which are needed, and still they are increasing the fees again. We do not have enough faculties who are able to cater to our problems. Such kind of, you know, things that the student might put forward. And the other student usually will be very calm, or will be in favor of the notification. Now when the question comes up, most of the times you are asked the question about the student who has very strong opinion. Okay, and you will be asked to include the examples of whatever the student has said. Okay, दैट्स वेयर. बट ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि दूसरे स्टूडेंट का आपने एग्जाम्पल्स नहीं लिए, दूसरे स्टूडेंट का भी थोड़ा सा लिख लिया करो. ठीक है, देन you will have to speak based on that. Again, you will start your answer with the student has the opinion about university notification that they have decided to increase the fees, ऐसे करके you will start the answer, and then again one liner conclusion. Here you get 60 seconds to speak. Okay, then you move to the question number 3. Now question number 3 and your writing task 1 are similar. Okay, here you get a reading passage, usually of 3 paragraphs to 4 paragraphs. Okay, and you will read the passage, and based on that your professor would be speaking. Okay, usually it might be a problem and solution kind of a passage, that the passage might put forward the problems and the lecturer will give you solutions, or it will be cause and effect, that what are the causes of something and what are the effects of it. The professor might just go ahead and say. But understand this, when we are at a university level, whatever is given in the passage, हम same चीज़ हमारे प्रोफेसर से नहीं सुनते. This happens in real life also. Correct. For example, हम स्कूल में थे when we were in 9th 10th. I guess we must have learnt about Darwin's theory of evolution. Correct. We read the passage, and based on that our teacher tells us. But when we look at it at a university level, teacher will most of the times, or the professor will most of the times contradict the information which is given over there. He will say
Okay.
that okay, Darwin is talking about theory of evolution, but where are the examples, or where are the proofs to it? Correct. Such kind of examples would be given. So usually they will oppose whatever is given in the passage. Okay, same way in our psychology we read Freudian theories, but the professors, they tell us an oppose of Freudian theories. Okay, that okay, everything revolved around things that are maybe not very practical, right? So such kind of things would be there, कि जो आपका पैसेज रहेगा उसके अलाइन में ही आप लेक्चर नहीं सुनेंगे, उसके अपोज में मोस्ट ऑफ टाइम्स लेक्चर आप सुनोगे. ठीक है. So for your writing task 1 specifically, you need to make sure of those opposing points, because that's something that you would be including in your answer. And even in your speaking task, you would be including that contradiction as an answer. Okay, that okay, reading passage says this, but the professor thinks this. Okay, so that's where you will need to make notes of those points. Usually there are 3 to 4 points, so make sure you note all of them. Okay. Then comes your speaking task 4. Speaking task 4, here you simply listen to a lecture. Okay, and most of the times the question that will be asked is the definition of the topic that the professor was discussing and the examples he or she has given. Okay, so make sure you note the definition and the explanation and the examples of it. Okay, that would be the question. Again, for all integrated speaking tasks, you get 60 seconds to speak. Okay, preparation time 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, differ karta hai according to the question type over here. Yeah.
Okay.
Once you're done with your speaking, you move to writing. Now, in speaking, what are the skills that are assessed? Main thing. Correct? Now, understand this. Speaking, you get 60 seconds. But in that 60 seconds, you cannot go ahead and say 500 words. So, you cannot speak like, okay, that guy who gives us the advertisement का disclosure जब mutual funds के ad आते हैं, म्यूचुअल फंड्स आर सब्जेक्ट टू मार्केट रिस्क करके हम फास्ट उस स्पेस में हम बात नहीं कर सकते. बेसिकली योर स्पीकिंग रिस्पॉन्स शुड बी द वे वी स्पीक इन रियल लाइफ. Okay, there should be proper pauses, there should be proper intonation. What do we mean by intonation? Intonation is nothing but the way our pitch goes up and down while speaking.
Yeah.
Okay, now when I am speaking, you understand where my full stops are, where my commas are, when I am asking you a question, right? So those are your intonations. So those intonations should be there. Proper pauses should be there. Your commas have hardly 0.2 seconds pauses. Your full stops have 0.5 second pauses. Okay, so you need to take those pauses. ऐसा नहीं है कि सिर्फ 60 seconds है, 45 seconds है, इसके लिए आप pause नहीं ले रहे हो, पूरा एक साथ में बात करके जा रहे हो. नहीं, that will also affect your score. Okay, even if your English is good. Yeah. Then second is vocabulary that you're using, whether you're using the correct vocabulary at the correct place. Again, the way I told you, you don't need very high level of vocabulary, you do not need Sashi Tharoor level of vocabulary over here, but you need good vocabulary. So instead of saying the word easy, you can say efficient. Okay, that is something that you can do. So basic एकदम word भी नहीं use करना है, but अच्छे level का word use करना है. ठीक है, जो now you have work experience, so I don't think you should face any difficulty with this part, because once we are working we come across many jargons. Correct? So use those jargons, I would say. Don't stick to very basic language skills also. Okay, if you know something, but use it at the right place. That's very important. Okay, then intonation का तो बता दिया. Fluency, again fluency matters. What do we mean by fluency? Fluency is nothing but the way our car moves smoothly on the road. Okay, that when we are speaking, we go smoothly, we keep speaking. Yes, we do make corrections, we do make repetitions of words when speaking, and that is totally fine. That's natural way. Even when you're listening to the lectures which are given over here, many times you will see that professor might just mispronounce something, or say something which is wrong and come back and correct it. Okay, that's totally fine. That's not a problem in speaking also over here. That will not affect your score. It just shows that you are a natural speaker and you understand. But it's important that you do not just pause in between, like एकदम रुक रुक के बात करो, sentence एकदम तोड़ तोड़ के बात करो, वो नहीं चलेगा. Yeah, you just need to go smoothly. That's very, very important. Then next thing, of course, your grammar is very important. Yeah, that you do not make any grammatical errors, no subject verb errors, no tenses errors. Okay, you use the correct tense. That is also very necessary. Usually I ask my students, keep your answer in simple present tense only. Okay, why simple present tense? Now when we are speaking, usually when we are speaking in real life, we don't keep this in mind when we are narrating a story or talking about an incident. But हम क्या करते हैं बात करते वक्त कि हम स्टार्ट करते हैं आंसर से पास्ट टेंस से, फिर हम बीच में ही सिंपल प्रेजेंट टेंस यूज़ करते हैं. ओके, यू नो व्हाट हैपेंड इन ऑफिस येस्टरडे, एंड बीच में ही हमने आईएनजी फॉर्म कहीं पर यूज़ कर दिया, बीच में ही हमने सिंपल प्रेजेंट टेंस कहीं पर यूज़ कर दिया. रियल लाइफ में जब हम बात कर रहे हैं चल जाता है, I would say. But usually you should stick to one tense and talk about it. So if I'm narrating a past incident, I will use past tense everywhere. Okay, and of course according to the users also we'll go through tenses, don't worry about that. According to users also we will just use some tenses in between, but our whole narration will be in one particular tense. Okay, so even in your test it becomes important. जब हम ऐसे भी लिखते थे ना, ये important होता था, हमें याद नहीं होगा वो, because teachers ऐसा highlight करके नहीं बताते कभी भी, ठीक है, but it should be in simple present tense, that you are consistent with the tense, कि हम बीच में ही कहीं पास्ट टेंस, बीच में ही कहीं फ्यूचर परफेक्ट, बीच में ही कहीं हम प्रेजेंट परफेक्ट ऐसे यूज़ नहीं कर रहे. सो आई यूजुअली आस्क द स्टूडेंट्स टू स्टिक टू simple present. And if you are giving real life examples, which is important in your task number 1 in speaking, then you could give some of them in simple past tense. Okay, that yesterday I went to a cafe with my peers to study, we had a really great time. तो वो ठीक है, वहाँ पर हम एग्जाम्पल्स दे रहे तो हम यूज़ कर सकते हैं, ठीक है. बट अदरवाइज व्हेन यू आर नरेटिंग वट एवर द प्रोफेसर इज सेइंग, वेन एवर यू आर नरेटिंग समथिंग दैट यू आर लिसनिंग टू और रीडिंग, you will stick to simple present tense. That goes for your speaking as well as writing. Okay, again we'll go through the rules of simple present tense, don't worry about that. Okay, we'll be covering that. So that's something very important, so that helps you to keep that same tense so that you are not making mistakes in that. Okay, along with that, the correct prepositions, the correct tenses, the correct grammar is very very important. Next most important thing is the topic development. Topic development, the way you are transitioning from your introduction, where you are giving main topic and then you are concluding, that also affects your score a little bit. Okay, when we go through the question types, after going through the question types we'll also go through what are the parameters of you getting scored. Okay, now the main thing, yeah, you have your parameters which are given. The main thing, you get scored out of 4 for each task over here. Okay, जो हम आगे भी of course देखेंगे, you get scored 4 for each speaking task, and वो 4 जो overall 16 होते हैं 4 task के हिसाब से, 4 into 4 16, that gets into the scale of 0 to 30, that gets converted to the scale of 0 to 30. Okay, so usually when you give tests on test ready, I'll tell you what is test ready later. When you give test on test ready, you will see कि वहाँ पर हमें 4 का score दिखता है usually, ठीक है, for speaking. And writing you will see the score of 5, and that 5 plus 5 10 gets converted to the scale of 30. Okay, that's what you have to remember. Then you move to writing. Again, most of the parameters on writing are also similar except the fluency part. Okay, fluency and intonations
Okay.
part. Writing may also your consistency in topic development, your vocabulary, your grammatical errors all become very very important. Now you might ask me, in speaking is accent a problem? Okay, now in speaking usually accent is not a problem, but there shouldn't be mispronunciations. Okay, accent, see every region has a different accent, so that's totally fine. एकदम भी mother tongue influence नहीं होना चाहिए. You have a neutral accent, so I don't think you should face any issue as such. Okay,
Okay.
but if you mispronounce the words, then it becomes a problem. Yeah,
Pronounce any example maybe.
pronunciation, जो हम अभी मैं word pronunciation का ही pronunciation, बहुत लोग pronunciation बोलते हैं, बराबर. हाँ, so
Okay,
that's,
that way.
हाँ हाँ, that way. So that becomes your correct pronunciation should be there. Yeah, of that particular word. बहुत background noise है आपके साइड से आती. Yeah, maybe
Just a minute, I'll
yeah, no
close the
problem,
window. Just a minute.
no problem. Yeah, that's better. Thank you.
Sorry.
No problem, no problem. I understand. Okay, next then we have writing. In the writing task 1, we have 2 tasks only in writing. Okay, in the writing task 1, it's same the way we had speaking task 3. You will read a passage, you will listen to a lecture, and based on that you will write. Now usually the word limit that the TOEFL has given you is 150 to 225 words, but you can write more than that. Okay, इफ़ यू गो अहेड एंड राइट 250 वर्ड्स, उस वजह से आपको नेगेटिव मार्किंग नहीं होगी या फिर आपका आंसर चेक नहीं होगा, ऐसे नहीं है. ओके, यू कैन गो अहेड एंड राइट मोर. उल्टा इफ़ यू राइट मोर, you are giving them more matter to assess and understand your English language skills. Okay, but you can only do that if you are not making lot of spelling errors, if you're not making lot of grammatical errors. If you're making lot of spelling errors, if you give them more matter, you're giving them more matter to deduct your answers, sorry, deduct your points or marks. Okay,
Thanks, yeah.
then we stick to 150 words कि हमारा कम मार्किंग जाए, डिडक्शन हो. बट इफ़ योर लैंग्वेज स्किल्स आर रियली गुड, यू आर नॉट मेकिंग many spelling errors, if you're not making many grammatical errors, then you can write more. Writing more gives you that good score. Okay.
Okay.
Now here you do not get any ऑटो चेक, मतलब हमारा ऑटो करेक्ट नहीं है. सो वी नीड टू बी गुड विथ स्पेलिंग्स, वी नीड टू बी गुड विथ ग्रामर. Okay, we don't have Grammarly in the test, remember that.
Yes.
So for next few days I would say on the laptop that you will be practicing, उसमें हमारा ऑटो करेक्ट Grammarly कुछ भी रहेगा तो वो डिसेबल करके रखो. Okay, so that when we practice also it does not show you any corrections. I am able to see whatever errors you are making in raw form so that we are working on it accordingly.
Okay.
Okay, that's very very important. Another thing, it's a computer based test, so you have to type. कुछ भी आपको पेपर पे नहीं लिखना एक्सेप्ट मेरे नोट्स, मैं जो बता रही हूँ क्लास में वो. ठीक है, that I prefer that you write on paper because you remember it for a longer time. But otherwise, whatever assignments I give you, whatever writing tasks I give you, whatever test I give you, you have to do it on the computer itself. Okay, computer or laptop slash. So that's something that you have to keep it in mind. So that's how you will be practicing your spellings also and grammar also. Okay, next task you have is the writing for an academic discussion task. Now this is a very unique task, you need to understand it properly. I am sure you must have used Twitter, you must have used Reddit sometimes, correct? जहाँ पर एक पोस्टर रहता है, he comes, he puts forward his point and he asks you an open-ended question. Okay, and based on that, the readers will just go ahead and make their comments, correct? Now this is a bit of a formal setting, so we have to be a little particular about the language over here. So in foreign universities, professors, India में भी होता है but बहुत कम universities में, in foreign universities the professors want you to think out of the classroom also. ऐसा नहीं कि सिर्फ क्लासरूम में जो डिस्कशन हो रहा है उतना ही काफ़ी है, क्लासरूम के बाहर जाते हो तो उसके बाद में भी डिस्कशंस होनी चाहिए. दैट्स व्हाट प्रोफेसर्स यूजुअली प्रेफर. ओके, सो these professors, they have the discussion forum. Okay, on the discussion forums, according to their subject, they will go ahead and put forward their point and then pose an open-ended question. Okay, based on that open-ended question, you will have two of your peers, imaginary peers, okay, who have responded to that question. Okay, usually again in this you will see professor पूछेगा what do you think, should students do part-time job when they are in the university or they should just focus on their studies. Okay, तो अभी दो सिनारियोज हो गए. तो अगेन ओवर यूर ऑल्सो यू विल स्टिक टू वट एवर सिनारियो यू हैव इन माइंड, वट एवर यू फील इज गुड एज एन आंसर ओवर यर. ओके, बट द responses by two other peers that you will see, one will be in favor, one will be in oppose of it. ओके, सो एक बोलेगा नहीं हमने पार्ट टाइम जॉब करना चाहिए, दूसरा बोलेगा नहीं हमने स्टडी पे फोकस करना चाहिए बिकॉज ऑलरेडी द यूनिवर्सिटी इज़ वेरी वेरी हार्ड एंड वी हैव लॉट ऑफ असाइनमेंट्स, वी हैव टू डू लॉट ऑफ रिसर्च, सो इट गेट्स डिफिकल्ट व्हेन वी हैव टू डू पार्ट टाइम जॉब्स ऑल्सो. So one might say that with his or her examples and the other student will just say yes we can manage, it's not very difficult to manage, ऐसे करके she might just put forward her points. Okay, again यहाँ पर usually मेल फीमेल होती है, that is another point. ठीक है, मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स, एवरी टाइम नहीं बोल रही हूँ, मोस्ट ऑफ द पॉइंट्स ये मतलब जो मैंने इतने साल में ट्रेंड देखा है ना उसके बेसिस पे मैं आपको बता रही हूँ. सो यू विल go ahead and start off your answer based on whatever your response is. Okay, you will say I prefer that. Okay, I feel that the students should work part time because it gives them that autonomy that is required. It exposes them to the real world of corporate, so that when they enter the corporate life after completing their studies, it's not an alien life to them. Correct, ऐसे करके आप बोल सकते हो. In between somewhere you will try to include a response from your peer also, because it's a discussion. Correct, it's not just your answer. So इस discussion में कोई भी मतलब A and B दोनों ने respond दिया ना, तो कोई भी का आप point ले लोगे. Either you will agree to his or her point and you will add on to it, or you will oppose that point. But when you oppose that point, you have to be very very formal. You will not be like ये ऐसे उसने कैसे बोल दिया, ऐसे करके नहीं. ठीक है, आराम से प्यार से. Okay, you will just go ahead and pose a question that I totally agree with whatever Nisha has said, but what about exposure to the real life? What about getting accustomed to the getting disciplined of reaching office on time? Okay, example मैं ऐसे ही दे रही हूँ आपको. So what about all these things? ऐसे करके you will pose questions to that, okay, or you will oppose it. So it totally depends, either you can agree or oppose it, but yes, you have to include one point. It helps you to get that perfect score. Okay, over here the word limit is only 100 words. Okay, which is very less according to me. It does not even take 5 minutes to write 100 words, but you can go ahead and extend to 120 150 words. The way I said, लंबे आंसर के लिए नेगेटिव मार्किंग नहीं है. ओनली थिंग हमारा टॉपिक डेवलपमेंट प्रॉपर होना चाहिए, ट्रांजिशन प्रॉपर होना चाहिए, एंड लैंग्वेज शुड बी फॉर्मल. दैट्स वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. इवन दो इट्स अ डिस्कशन, इट्स एन एकेडमिक डिस्कशन, सो वी हैव टू बी वेरी वेरी फॉर्मल द वे वी डू इट इन आवर ऑफिस, आई वुड से. ठीक है, एंड you have overall 10 minutes for this task. For the writing task 1 you get 20 minutes. For the writing test task 2 you get 10 minutes. It's given 29 minutes, but you get around 30 minutes over there. Okay, 20 minutes are more than enough to write task 1. Okay, 10 minutes are also enough, more than enough to write over here. But the only thing that you need to be careful about, that before submitting your answer you have to proofread your answers. Okay, ऐसा नहीं है कि हमने लिख दिया and submit कर दिया, which is a very bad habit that we have in India again, that usually we write something and we just submit it. Okay, that should not be the question. Get into habit of proofreading. Okay, it helps us in our professional life also. When we are sending an emails, it's good to proofread it once or twice. Okay, before hitting that send button. Same way over here, before submitting you will make sure that you proofread it at least once or twice. Proofread for spelling errors, proofread for grammatical errors. Okay, and that there is consistency in the topic that you are speaking. ठीक है, redundant sentences तो नहीं है ना, मतलब बीच में ही ऐसा मैंने कुछ तो बोल दिया जो कि it does not align to the previous sentence. Okay, so that is very very important that we make sure that we are following it. Clear? So for the reading passage you overall get 35 minutes. Okay, so I would say you spend around 16 to 17 minutes with each passage, not more than that. Okay, then you get 36 minutes for listening, but understand this, in listening it's a bit tricky. Okay, when of course when the day comes for your test center, उसके पहले मैं आपको बताऊंगी. For answering the questions overall you get 16 minutes. ओके, बाकी के जो आपके 20 मिनट्स है वो एक्चुअली ऑडियो के होते हैं. ओके, सो यू डोंट सी दोज 20 मिनट्स ऑन योर स्क्रीन, you only see 16 minutes on the screen. Okay, and that is also divided into two sections, 6 minutes for conversations and 3 minutes for 10 minutes for lectures. तो ये सेक्शन कभी भी कोई भी आ सकता है. तो पहले जब आपका लिसनिंग स्टार्ट होगा, यू माइट व्हेन यू स्टार्ट आंसरिंग द क्वेश्चन यू माइट जस्ट सी 6 मिनट्स ऑन द स्क्रीन. सो डोंट पैनिक बिकॉज ऑफ दैट कि मेरे 36 मिनट्स से 6 मिनट्स क्यों दिख रहे हैं. ओके, ऑडियो के 30 मिनट्स का था क्या, नहीं. It's
Okay.
just that divided into two sections, so don't panic because this has happened with one of the students previously. That's why I highlight this. Again, जब आप टेस्ट सेंटर जाओगे तब मैं आपको बताऊंगी ये सारी चीज़ें. Don't worry. So that's just something that you need to remember. ठीक है. And then for lectures again, once the lectures start, they showcase 10 minutes. So ऑडियो का जो टाइम है वो आपका स्क्रीन पे नहीं दिखता क्योंकि ऑडियो कम ज़्यादा हो सकता है ना टाइमिंग उसका, कभी 4 minutes कभी 5 minutes. So that should not be a barrier for the time that you have for answering your questions. ठीक है. So that's the reason they have put it in that format. Same way for speaking, you have 16 minutes. I already told you have to speak only for 3 minutes 45 seconds. Your actual speaking time is only 3 minutes 45 seconds. अभी आपके responses usually कितने words के होने चाहिए, कितने words आपके response में आने चाहिए usually, whether your current speech is good or do we need to make any improvements in that. Once you give the mock test, of course I'll be giving a feedback on that. Okay, don't worry about it. See, हम नॉर्मल बात करते हैं तब हमारा स्पीच बहुत अलग रहता है, बट व्हेन इट कम्स टू speaking to the computer, it becomes another thing. Okay, and that's why we have to be, when it comes to responding to these questions, it becomes another thing. So we have to be very particular about that part. Now one point that I missed in speaking, here you do not have a live examiner in front of you. You record your responses in the computer directly.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So as soon as your task prompt comes up, जो प्रिपरेशन टाइम आपका होता है 15 seconds 20 seconds, वो ख़त्म हो जाता है, ऑटोमेटिक माइक ऑन हो जाता है वहाँ पर एक्चुअल टेस्ट में. ठीक है. ऑटोमेटिक माइक ऑन होता है, यू हैव टू स्टार्ट स्पीकिंग इमीडिएटली. या एंड यू गेट
Okay.
ओनली वन चांस. There are no reattempts. So be sure about that point, and that is something that you will need to get used to when you are giving your mock tests also. ठीक है. So don't keep reattempting again and again. Don't worry, we do a lot of speaking practice in the class also, where I do not give you any reattempts. I'm very strict with speaking part. That's something. Now understand, I have already told you, in speaking and writing, TOEFL में they are not very particular about spellings and grammar. आपका सारे वर्ड्स एंड सारे सेंटेंसेस विदाउट ग्रामर होने चाहिए या फिर विदाउट स्पेलिंग एरर्स होने चाहिए, ऐसा नेसेसरी नहीं है. इफ़ योर पैसेज इज़ रियली गुड and there is only one spelling error over there where you get confused, where you got confused between I E कब यूज़ करते हैं, करेक्ट, I पहले आता है कि E पहले आता है, where you get confused for that part, उसके लिए एक या दो एरर है तो उसके लिए आपका मार्क्स कट नहीं होंगे. यू विल स्टिल गेट
Okay.
5 out of 5. सिर्फ एक कहीं पर ग्रामेटिकल एरर है या फिर एक कहीं पर रिडंडेंट सेंटेंस है, उसके लिए आपके मार्क्स कट नहीं होंगे. ओके. आई वुड से TOEFL इज अ बिट लीनियंट अबाउट इट. ओके. स्पीकिंग में भी एक हाथ आपका फॉल्स स्टार्ट है, एक हाथ आपका मिसप्रोनाउंसिएशन है, उसके लिए आपके मार्क्स कट नहीं होंगे. Yeah, so TOEFL is a bit lenient about that part, so don't worry about that. But when I do speaking and writing, I am very strict about it कि एक भी spelling error नहीं होना चाहिए. ठीक है. जब हम वो रखें तब आपका एग्जाम में जाकर एक spelling error होगा, correct. If I be lenient over here, you might just go ahead and make more errors, correct. That's something that we don't want. That's the reason. Another thing, your responses are scored by 4 people. Okay, your speaking and writing is scored by 4 live people. Okay, human raters, and plus AI. So for example, आपने आपका टेस्ट दे दिया, ठीक है. You have submitted your response. Your response as an examiner, I will check it. Okay, one more teacher will check it, one more teacher will check it, one more teacher will check it, plus AI will check it. ठीक है.
Okay.
तो 4 लोग चेक करेंगे, सेम स्पीकिंग एंड राइटिंग दोनों भी. ठीक है. आउट ऑफ 5 आपको स्कोर मिलता है राइटिंग में, करेक्ट. सो से आई गिव यू 3.5. ओके. एग्जामिनर बी गिव्स यू 3.5, but examiner C and D give you 4. Yeah. And even your AI gives you 4. Then you will get the score of 4. So whichever is the
Okay.
highest will be given to you. Say अगर इनमें से चार लोगों ने आपको 3.5 दिया बट एक ने 4 दिया तो वो 4 काउंट होगा आपका. ठीक है.
Okay.
That is very very important. And again ऐसा नहीं है like in some tests the students say like one of the tests PTE only AI checks it. There is no human involved over there. Okay. Your IELTS only humans check it. There is no AI
Okay.
involved over there. So usually what students go ahead and do that they go and blame. Correct. They go ahead and blame. AI ने अगर चेक किया तो AI को blame करते हैं कि AI ने मेरे responses correctly नहीं understand किए because it's not human. And when humans check it, they just go ahead and say that okay, humans have their own biases. Okay, this happens in IELTS. Usually the students feel that the uh, examiner or the speaking examiner is very very biased. He was not in a good mood, he was very tired. ये सारे factors involved नहीं होते हैं, but yes, we have that human tendency. Now I can tell you that because I am a speaking examiner, but other students don't know, other teachers also don't know who are in the market. Other teachers go ahead and say that IELTS में अच्छा तुम्हारा अगर नंबर लास्ट में आ रहा है दिन में मतलब तुम्हारा स्कोर कम आएगा, which is a very bad thing, but of course we cannot change that. We it's difficult to change others, so change starts with us. So I can tell you that it does not come into the picture because of course I am an examiner, that's how we are trained. Okay. But over here that factor does not come into picture because AI भी है, humans भी है, and एक human नहीं check कर रहा है, चार humans check कर रहा है. Correct. So एक person गलती कर सकता है, चार लोग गलती नहीं कर सकते, right? So that's the reason. Understood? Now most of the things we have already covered. Last part we have the scoring part. Reading you get a score of 30, listening you get a score of 30, speaking 30, writing 30. Overall you get scores out of 120. So the highest score that you can get is 120, but the way I told you on call that day, we should target 100 above. Okay. Your 100 above is the IELTS band of 8 plus. Okay,
Okay.
7.5, 8 plus. That's a good score. It's accepted by all the universities. But most of the universities they need you 90 above. They need your score 89 above. So 90 above हम बोल सकते हैं. And some universities they are okay with 70 above also. Okay, where
Okay.
you don't need very good language skills, but totally depends. Once you shortlist your universities, also go through their TOEFL requirements, take a screenshot of it and share them with me also. Okay, keep it with you also and share it with me also, so that we know what is the target score. बहुत सारी यूनिवर्सिटीज़ है जिनको लिटरली लिसनिंग एंड रीडिंग में 13 का स्कोर भी चल जाता है आउट ऑफ 30. 13 1
Yes.
3. ओके. एंड दे रिक्वायर
Yeah.
से स्पीकिंग में उनको 18 चाहिए, राइटिंग में 21 चाहिए. सो डिफर करता है कभी कभी. इट टोटली डिपेंड्स ऑन विच डोमेन यू आर ऑल्सो. इफ यू आर इन कम्युनिकेशन, इफ यू आर गोइंग फॉर मास मीडिया और समथिंग लाइक दैट, देन ऑफ कोर्स स्पीकिंग एंड राइटिंग में उनको अच्छा स्कोर चाहिए. Okay, because that's going to be your field after
Depends.
you after you graduate from there, right? So that's the reason. If you are in law, again you need a good score in speaking because you're going to be speaking in law, correct? So डोमेन के हिसाब से भी आपका स्कोर वेरी करता है, यूनिवर्सिटी के हिसाब से भी आपका स्कोर वेरी करता है. सो मेक श्योर यू गो थ्रू दैट एंड कीप शेयरिंग इट विथ मी ऑल्सो. बट एज आई सेड, score above 24 25 in each skill and a score of overall 100 plus is a good score. Like it's a safe score. कहीं पर भी आप easily accept हो जाओगे. हाँ. Sometimes if you're applying for scholarships, then it's good to have a score of 110 plus, but trust me, it's not very
Yes.
easy. Okay. Even if you're good with English, understand this. Many students have that in mind. कि my language skills are good, so I will get 120 out of 120. It's not easy to get 120 out of 120. It's not only about language, you also need to understand the questions which are being asked, how to gauge the answers, where are the answers hidden, how they are paraphrased. Okay, so कर सकते हैं. I'm not saying there are students who have scored 119, not from me of course, but there are other students, ठीक है, who have scored 119. You can go on YouTube, you'll find many of them. Even the teachers who give tests, they don't get scored out of 120, I would say. ठीक है. So you need to be very very फ्लुएंट विद इट एंड बहुत प्रैक्टिस लगती है. कर सकते हैं बट यू जस्ट नीड लॉट ऑफ प्रैक्टिस फॉर इट. Okay, you should be willing to put in that hard work. So usually I say if you are applying for normal universities 100 plus हमने target करना चाहिए, which is very easy. Very easy if you practice, of course. Okay, without practice कुछ नहीं होता, हमें भी पता है. Clear? Any questions, any doubts, anything that you did not understand or need clarification?
Yeah, understood.
Understood? Okay. Join the group. In the group, I will be sharing the planner with you. I will be sharing the TOEFL guide with you. Okay? Your task today is that you will go through TOEFL guide chapter 1.
Okay.
Okay? All the things that you will come across will be the same of what I have told you in the class. Only one thing that you will see over there is how your screen will look on the test day. Okay,
Okay.
because here I have not included those screenshots. I want you to go and do it on your own. You also need to understand how your screen will look like on the test day. कहाँ पर कौन सा बटन होता है, कहाँ पे क्या होता है, ठीक है, टाइमर कैसा दिखता है, कहाँ पर होता है, रिव्यू का बटन कैसे दिखता है, जो अपना रीडिंग में हमको रिव्यू मिलता है वो कैसा बटन दिखता है. सो यू शुड नो दैट. ओके, how your screen will appear. Your screen will appear mostly when you're giving the reading passages. On the left, you will have your passage. On the right, you will have your question. Okay, that's how usually it will be. Have you made an account on Test Ready
No,
or
I'll
TOEFL?
create this.
Create the account today. You will need to put in your email ID, your phone number. Put your email ID which you're using, and email ID also which you are using currently, active email ID. And once you do that, I will send you one code. वहाँ पे नीचे ना एजेंट कोड करके दिखेगा. आई विल सेंड यू स्क्रीनशॉट आल्सो ऑफ इट कि कहाँ पर वहाँ पे एजेंट कोड में अपना कोड डालना है, सो दैट आई विल बी एबल टू सी योर प्रोफाइल ऑन माय डैशबोर्ड. ठीक है.
Okay.
टेस्ट रेडी इज इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर अस बिकॉज टेस्ट रेडी पे डेली वन फ्री टास्क डाला होता है. ठीक है.
Okay.
फॉर एग्जाम्पल हमने देखा अभी एकेडमिक डिस्कशन टास्क, तो वो वहाँ पर डाला होगा. यू जस्ट नीड टू अटेम्प्ट इट एंड यू गेट द स्कोर इमीडिएटली. इट्स फ्री.
Okay.
Even if you have not registered for the test, you can still go ahead and give that test. Okay.
Okay.
हाँ, so that's a regular practice that you have to do by default. ठीक है. यूजुअली मैं बोलूँगी
Okay.
क्लास के पहले कर लो, बट अगर क्लास के बाद भी किया तो जस्ट आफ्टर गिविंग दैट स्मॉल मॉक टेस्ट यू विल शेयर द स्कोर विथ मी. ठीक है. So make sure you explore that also. I'll show you tomorrow on the screen also. Don't worry. Make the account, then I'll show you. Yeah, how to access it.
So on test ready and on TOEFL, right?
टोफिल का आप करोगे ना तो वहीं पर टेस्ट रेडी, मतलब आपका रजिस्ट्रेशन एंड आपका क्या बोलते हैं लॉगिन है, क्रेडेंशियल सेम रहते हैं टेस्ट रेडी के लिए. टोफिल का ही है
Okay.
वो. ठीक है.
Okay.
सो जस्ट मेक दैट अकाउंट, create an account, then you message me, I'll guide you.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Make sure you put in your birth date when you're creating the account, phone number, name, पासपोर्ट पे जैसा नेम है वैसा ही नेम. ठीक है.
Okay.
नो स्पेलिंग एरर्स. नेम, फोन नंबर, डेट ऑफ बर्थ, ये सारी डिटेल्स अच्छे से डालो बिकॉज वो चेंज नहीं होते बाद में. वो चेंज करने के लिए हमें कस्टमर सर्विस को वापस कांटेक्ट करना पड़ता है. ठीक है. सो वो पहले में ही आप ठीक से ध्यान से डाल लेना. या ऑल द अदर थिंग्स कैन बी चेंज्ड. ठीक है. सो डोंट वरी. या
Yeah.
चलो.
Can you please share me that link, like which on which I can enroll? I can see
Create
two
account.
like
Okay,
yeah,
fine.
to create the account for the
I'll share
TOEFL
it
IELTS
with
test.
I'll share it with you.
Okay. Yeah.
ठीक है. Yeah. Any other questions? Any other doubts?
No, not.
Okay. Then we'll stop over here for today. We will continue tomorrow. Okay. Make sure
Okay.
just like today you confirm the class, but I'll be messaging in the group. ठीक है.
Sure. Yeah.
So join कर लो
So
group.
tomorrow, what will be like starting with?
We'll be starting with the questions of reading. Question types in reading.
Okay.
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 That's something that we'll be starting with.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
चलो. Bye bye. Have a great day ahead. See you.
You too have a great day.
Thank
See
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.